I've been reading that Phantom book I showed you the other time we were recording. It's way more. It's darker than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I didn't think it was going to be as dark as it is, but like it's right up my alley. I'm like, all right.
So that's the what's his name's like the original, the French.
No, it's not LaRue's.
Oh, okay.
This is Susan K. Susan K.
I will be right back.
Do your thing, chicken wang. I don't know.
We haven't started yet, have we?
Not technically, no. I'm gonna edit some of this up. I'm gonna chop it up. Gonna toss it in there like a salad. You know, pepper it. Put it where I need it. Make it tasty. You know what I mean? You gotta be prepared, man. Like, what are you doing?
Well, it was better.
The cool side of the pillow. Okay, I'm just gonna turn my gain down a little bit. Wow. Wow.
Without further ado, Mr. Funny Man.
519. Please and thank you. What I have to say is, we are live with High on Hollywood. And we are kind of probably back in the same format we usually are.
Probably.
I'm really excited to do like film things, and the fact that I can't right now is really sad. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to express that to you. I'm sad about it, but I'm also just happy. I'm feeling good this week.
That's good.
How have you been?
I am fantastic. I've been doing a lot of writing, a lot of working on my book. The Midnight Dreamscape YouTube channel is coming off. Every day I'm kind of producing content, so that's great. I'm gonna do a live performance on Mondays, nice. And I decided Mondays and Wednesdays at about 7, 8 o'clock on Facebook on Midnight Dreamscapes. The page is gonna be my live time, and then I take those videos and kind of cut them up, put them on my YouTube channel, which is also Midnight Dreamscapes, the YouTube channel. So that's been really fun. And to talk about like editing and putting things together, I'm actually having a lot of fun making these podcasts and these videos. It's very like, it's hard work, but it's just like putting poems together. It's a puzzle, right. And it's the one thing I love about creating art is putting all those pieces together and making it flow and nice. That's what, especially with making kids read comics. That just dropped yesterday.
I was listening to that new episode the other night, and I was like, I was just fascinated. It's got, you guys have a nice flow too.
Oh, thank you.
And I was just really interested to hear both of your perspectives, kind of, and how you bounce off of each other.
Yeah, it's just a father and son conversation type of thing. It's not like anything huge academic style. Like it's both basically I'm just kind of introducing him to some of these ideas. He's 14 years old, and I just wanted to like test his knowledge as well as give him an opportunity to tell the world about what's on his mind. I mean, even though he's 14 years old, he has some interesting insights.
Exactly. And
they should be acknowledged. I think they should. I think a lot more young people's ideas should be acknowledged.
And I think now is the time. Now that we have time to do that, I think it's the time to do it. Basically, you know what I mean. So I think that's awesome. And before you ask me, no, my window is not open.
I wasn't going to ask. Actually, my next question was going to ask is I was watching your video, not Village, your video, your movie with your lovely girlfriend. I'm not going to say her name. T.
Very good.
T. That was awesome. That was awesome. Oh. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really cool, and I digged your intro. Your intro was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and I composed that music myself in FL Studios. So awesome. I'm proud of that. I have to mention that because I was like inspired by the Picard theme. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yep, okay, we're gonna play with some piano, got some orchestra in here, and then we gotta add some sci-fi, some bass, and then you're good.
Nice. So you created that whole thing. What did you create that on?
FL Studios. It's a paid program, so I paid for it. Thanks to Serb, I was able to afford the producer edition of FL Studios 12. I Excellent program.
But I love it. Because I was thinking about doing theme music throughout my videos and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
So,
and there are other programs.
Yeah, because I've been using a lot of like Creative Commons stuff. I love Creative Commons stuff. Like indie art is where it's at. I you know what? I am kind of done with the whole, I don't know, mainstream kind of, not in that sense. Like I still love mainstream movies. I still love mainstream stuff.
Right.
But this is where real art is being produced in some cases, like in the underground, inside the indie sphere. And I really am enjoying listening to like the world's voices and their thoughts and opinions that are outside of normal institutionalized places, you know?
Right. Interesting. I've never explored the Creative Commons. That's why I'm like, tell me more.
The Creative Commons. Yeah. It's
like,
it's all the the Creative Commons is where everybody shares. Like everybody's under a Creative Commons CC. That's where our copyright is, right?
Right.
So it's able to share stuff. So these are your archive places, your public domain spaces, your just search them up anywhere you find them. You find them on YouTube. You find them everywhere. It's indie art. That's all it is.
Okay. Just
what I mean by art, I mean by art, culture, literature.
Yeah, of all kinds,
fan fiction. That's all Creative Commons, right?
Right. Cool. Man, I really, you know what I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted to polish up my like Worlds of DC Cinematic Universe collective thing. I've always wanted to polish that up and then like post that somewhere online, but I've never actually like, I don't know. I haven't found a good place where I'm like, okay, this is where I can put this. I guess I could put it up on WordPress too. It's a random thing. Just
those are the two sites that it's either there's WordPress and there's Blogger, are pretty much the two biggest blogging sites.
I used to use Blogger. Yeah.
I like WordPress a lot better. The thing about Blogger, if you submit it to Google, you don't own it anymore. I researched that. I was like, because I was looking at like the differences between the two, and you submitted there, you posted it onto the site, and because it's on that site, Google it's Google owns it because you're not paying for it, right?
That sounds very familiar to me, because of the film we're going to be talking about today.
Yes, which we should start talking about that film.
You say should have or shouldn't? No,
we should. We definitely should talk about that film. So, anyways, to wrap up our discussion on how we've been doing, so we've been doing pretty good, right? We're doing good.
I think we're doing good, and I've been really, I've been riding the wave on my novel, and just like, I don't know, I'm really excited about the journey that my main character Hermes is on, and all of the pain he's been suffering because I'm sadistic as an author.
Nice. So, you know what? So, how much intertextuality do you have with horror? Let's say horror icons like Faust and the pictures of Dorian Gray, and
I know
what this movie we were about to talk about, the Phantom of the Paradise, Phantom of the Paradise, or as I like to call it,
Phantom versus Dr. Dorian Faustus. That's basically what the movie is, but I love it. It's like I love it
because it's also Brian De Palma of all things.
I know, and it's such a weird. It's a weird movie. You just have to give it that for off the top.
It is weird and zany, and it's almost for my personal opinion. I think it's De Palma just wanting to make his own zany, crazy B movie. It was just you know what? Because I can, I'm going to do it, and this is what I got, and it is brilliant and crazy and funny, and
I know
it is an entertaining movie all the way through.
Garrett Graham, hilarious as Beef. Like that is one of my favorite performances of all time.
Yes.
Oh my gotta say, like, oh my god. I wrote down what Dry Up Tubbo. I was like, oh my god, yes. Legendary queen, fantastic. Legendary, and then the plunger scene. I mean, you gotta love that. I was just like, I was kind of in love with how it was a pastiche of not only those stories, so the Phantom of the Opera, Dr. Faustus and Dorian Gray, but also it was a homage to the different eras of like rock and roll too.
Yes.
You know, you had the Greaser era, you had like Beach Boys, like, you know, 60s, and then you had Kiss, which was at that time the most recent like music. Like that was the most like that was like the pop culture of the time.
It was Kiss meets Led Zeppelin meets Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
you know,
it had really dark, you know, elements too. It was like interesting.
It meets Alice Cooper. It was because that's like if like we go down this stream of rock music, and yes, there is a definite "I love you" letter to rock and roll, and what rock and roll represents as a rebellious kind of way of counterculture, where that's where it kind of grew out of, right?
Right.
And then this movie also kind of critiques that by saying we're going to take what what rock music has turned into now is this highly commercialized, kind of satirized genre.
Right.
And it's devolved into these different kind of places. Like, because it's definitely, this movie is critiquing the establishment, the production company, the music industry, right?
Oh,
it's
for sure.
Fun at that.
I mean, right off the bat, when Phoenix goes into audition for Swan the first time, and it's not an audition, you know what I mean? That right there is a critique of the music industry.
It is an audition.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a blatant,
you know,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's why it's also a blatant critique of the music industry, and it's really interesting. It's like, whoa, that's like a really like that. Holy shit, that just happened. But at the same time, it's in this really zany movie that's like, you know, I'm innocent. Swan stole my music.
They took out all of his teeth.
Like, I don't want you to take out my teeth.
The prison's owned by the production company.
I know. I'm like, what? Yeah.
That does human testing. It's like, this is completely evil.
This is not even. This shouldn't even be possible. Like,
but that also tells you of the privatization of American prisons.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Might own them for what? I mean, for what purposes? But yeah, it's so crazy. Like, even when he just loses his mind and kicks the guard, and they're all doing that like Benny Hill skit.
I know. Okay, I have a serious question for you though about this movie, because I thought about this as the credits were rolling and I was watching, you know, the Phantom do his thing on the piano. Do you think that this movie, whether it was intentional or not, reflects a growing culture of violence?
Oh shit, yes. This movie,
it almost foresees
it speaks about evil. It speaks about hubris of fame, and it speaks about the idea of like crawling over bodies to get to the top, and then having those people, those overlords, owning you.
Right. After you made those choices.
After you made all those choices, you finally get famous. There's still something, whatever it's metaphysical or you know, supernatural, is still having those barriers on top of you. That feeling will never shake because there's always some sort of superpower. If that makes sense. Like in this totally case, the religious figure, you make the deal with the devil. I mean,
and let me just say, I love the scene where it's the reflection of Swan. Like, with the simple lighting trick, he was able to convey, you know, this really creepy version of Swan that was actually the devil in his skin, essentially.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like just the way that, and Paul Williams gave a great performance. He also composed the score for this film, like all the original music.
Yeah, I was cool because like all the scenes where people weren't singing, I was Paul Williams singing.
Yeah,
he has a wicked voice. Like,
he really does.
I liked Paul Williams as an actor. I liked Paul Williams and as an actor and a singer.
Even though he was character.
Yeah, He's very short though.
And he's tiny, yeah.
Tiny little
It was
guy.
kind of hard to believe that this guy was like rolling in the chicks, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like that was kind of rock too. Like that almost in itself is a comment on rock and roll. It's like, oh man, some of these guys like the Rolling Stones, pretty ugly, but you know, they probably get laid all the time.
Well, they did. I mean, not only there are a lot of stories coming out about rock legends and what they did in the 60s and 70s. I mean, they were all boning each other, man. I mean, like, what was it? Richard Pryor was doing. Who was he screwing? David Bowie at the time.
Probably.
There was. No, it was David Bowie, Mick Jagger. They used to have sex all the time.
What? Probably
surrounded in women.
I was like probably in an orgy.
Yeah, it was. Well, you know, you introduce that much sex, that much drugs into a party's culture. I mean, it's free love. That's what free love meant. It was just giant orgy scenes and rock and roll and drugs and fame and glitz and glamour and the shine of the spotlight on you. So, like, to get into your question about violence,
yeah,
as an idea of a violent culture that this is representing. Oh shit! I lost that thought. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I interrupted you a little bit. But that's not what Winslow Leach ever wanted, and I think it's kind of tragic to see him
fall
throughout the, like, you know, his only redemption is in the end when he basically saves Phoenix, I guess, because he saves Phoenix because he kills.
There's definitely a redemption arc on that, but I didn't feel like Winslow was always a good person. I mean, even in the beginning scene, he was this dorky, lovable guy when he walked in, and all of a sudden he had this temper.
Well, and with Philbin, exactly.
His art and his music, he had this temper.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even Philbin.
Yeah.
He even says, whoa, dude. He was like completely scared of him, held head up against the wall.
Yeah, I know.
Like as this overbearing, powerful creature that's coming at him.
I thought that was really interesting.
Where I think there's in this movie, it definitely looks at the gray areas between good and evil. It's not a duality. Right. There's that idea of redemption, but also did Winslow really care for Phoenix? Was there a point, or did he care for the fact that did he care for her voice or what she could do with his music? Because that's what all it was about. It wasn't about love. It was about individual art, about authorship.
Well, and I think that's, you know, Phantom of the Opera often devolves into, especially on the stage, into a romantic story. Very, very romantic. Like the focus is on a romance rather than on the gothic horror, and the fact that the romance in the novel really comes from Raoul and Christine and not from Christine and the Phantom, because the Phantom is a creepy old man. It's like, I think if you look at the story, it kind of also reflects that in itself. And it's interesting, this idea of, holy shit, I'm stoned, so I forgot my entire train of thought. Oh my God. And I feel like I just had a massive stroke. Like, I just lost everything instantly.
See, this is a very, very academic conversation between us.
But no, okay, but I mean, like, the thing is, this movie,
it bleeds academia.
And you're 100% right about it being about the gray area, you know, between good and evil, because it's like, we all have desires, and we all, because, you know, even with Phoenix, you know, we see her at the beginning as this naive but good-hearted young woman she still, you know, holds up her morals. Exactly.
She's Christine Daae. But the thing, when you're relating this movie to The Phantom, to the one we just watched, and how they portray that love triangle, it's almost exactly the same because she's just completely objectified. I mean,
and that's true.
She is non-existent. She's just a body, a voice.
Yep.
Her individuality doesn't matter
in the end,
and what she wants doesn't matter
in the end. True. The story is about two men warring with each other. Really, it's not about Phoenix, which I think is also kind of the difference in Phantom of the Opera, right? Because I think Phantom is actually about Christine and the Phantom, and less about Raoul.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But because it's not exactly 1-to-1, but it's like,
well, she's still
the love triangle of that pining and that unrequited love and that that genius hidden in the wings who has a strange penchant for killing people and seems really angry at everyone all the time.
The thing is Winslow Leach a genius? That brings up a good question.
I think he's supposed to be. I think he's supposed to be
the rock genius. It's
weird because you know what, he's a rock genius, but his music looks like it's supposed to be more of a
artsy.
Yeah, like it looks like it's
a cantata.
I know.
Like cantata. It's like it's not. Stop.
And he's like, listen, we're not gonna ruin your sonata, okay?
nobody cares about your cantata, okay? It's like, you're right. Nobody. It's called an album, and it goes on vinyl.
Philbin was actually named after Mary Philbin, who portrayed Christine Daae in the 1925 Phantom of the Opera.
Interesting.
Yes.
So it's completely intertextual. Like this is a patchwork of postmodern.
Yeah, and they tried. So originally, Swan's record label was named Swan Song Records.
Swan Song, yeah, and because of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, they had to change it. So I mean, that's almost. Records. I'm like, yeah, which I also was like, holy shit, that's metal. Yeah, that is so metal. Like, damn,
it's big time.
I want to talk about the shots in this movie because they're really interesting.
They are really interesting. De Palma's cinematography is it's very, very signatured.
He becomes known for this, exactly. Exactly. And I think it's interesting because I watched a little clip of him on YouTube where he was talking about specifically making this movie, and he was like, with every shot or with every scene kind of had a like, he imagined it in shots. He didn't imagine it around the characters, though specifically he imagined the environments, is what he was saying. And so he imagined where the camera would be in the environment rather than, like...
Which is smart, and it gives you that atmosphere.
Exactly.
It gives you that weird fly-on-the-wall atmosphere that's goes along with that supernatural element.
Right, right.
The devil is watching. So is God,
Well, and it's interesting because the threat... goes from being the Phantom or Swan to Phantom to Swan to Devil, and then tragic death of, tragic, because in the end, Winslow is still like, what was going to happen if he survived in the end? What was going to happen if he won? It's not like Phoenix was good. Phoenix wasn't going to just there was no way in hell she was just going to be like,
dude, your eye. it's like coming right out of your face. Like,
oh man, can you keep that part covered? Get a good mask, because the mask, and the mask is an interesting thing. I think it definitely reflects the glam rock that was starting to happen in at that time period.
Yeah. 1974. So glam didn't really come until more towards the 80s. So
yeah, that's fair. But I'm just saying, I think Kiss started the wave of men in makeup and costumes that would get picked up in the 80s. Because you're right, a lot of those bands.
It was with Kiss and Cooper that really started the metal. That's the American metal resolution.
Right.
Metal started with. It's debatable.
That's also fair, though.
There's a huge debate on who started metal, and that's between Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath.
Interesting.
Overseas, and where it actually started. So technically,
Ozzy
you could say either or started it. It was usually Ozzy is pretty much the father of
Ozzy. Them. Yeah.
Ozzy and Black Sabbath. That's where I lay it.
I love Ozzy. I gotta say. I really do.
So in those terms, that's around 69 when they started. It's more of a psychedelic rock, I find, with that helmet.
Yeah, especially early Black Sabbath.
Yeah, it's more this helmet is just precursor to goth goth metal, like precursor.
And it did give you some of those awesome goth shots, or really like horror kind of inspired shots of the eye and the peephole, which I loved. I really liked that.
Black lips and
the metal.
But he looked like a bird too. Like it was all like it was completely beaked. It's not just one side; it's a whole helmet, right? There's one eye, and then one eye was had a glass in it.
Yep.
Which bugged me because you see the eye, and Winslow wears very thick glasses at the beginning of the movie, and then all of a sudden now he's turned into the Phantom. Now he can see properly.
Yeah, that's a good point. His other eye shouldn't have been able to just randomly suddenly, but I don't know. Maybe the record press gave him magical music powers.
Maybe it probably. It's really the fault in the logic. You can't fault logic in this movie because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
He escapes prison in a box, so I mean.
The fucking Benny Hill scenes are great. Like as soon as I was done watching this, have you ever seen Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club?
I've never actually watched it. No.
Oh my god, with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton as the Beatles.
Is that what that movie is?
Yes, it's
oh my
Peter.
God.
Yeah, it's like oh my god, it's that you want to talk about a crazy zany movie. Now you have to watch that. You have to watch Steve Martin. You have to watch Steve Martin singing. I can't remember it. No, isn't
it a musical too?
It's completely a musical.
That's what I thought.
There is no spoken words. It's all music, and it's all set to Beatles songs, and it's fantastic. Rent it and get really stoned. I mean, really stoned. It'll fuck with you.
What did you think? As a random aside, what did you think about the Tiddlywinks board games they were constructing in Sing Sing prison? Was that a comment on capitalism?
Probably.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know either. I was just like, that was a random thing.
I actually pointed that out. I never noticed that. It was Tiddlywinks board game.
They were board games for kids, clearly.
They were toys, yeah.
And I thought that was just really interesting. I was like, okay.
What's the reference to Tiddlywinks?
I don't know. I'm just saying I think it's just a reference to children. The fact that they're making board games for kids to play with. These are convicted criminals. They're being used as slaves, essentially, for labor by the state.
Well, then,
but by the corporations, actually. Yeah, exactly.
And that sounds to me like what happens a lot.
No, and that's the thing, because it does actually happen. So I'm like, okay, interesting, Brian. This movie is deeper than your.
Well, it doesn't happen anymore. At least that's what used to happen, because now they ship all that stuff to China.
Yeah, which I don't know. It's there's always been not about COVID. I'm not even talking about that, but I'm just talking about like there's always been a big debate around local production and exporting all production, and out of the country.
There's humane policies in America. They can't do that because they're humane, right? We're humane.
Right.
So we can export our shit over to China, where they don't have any humane laws.
Right.
And we can just be okay with that. It's out of sight, out of mind, and clear our conscience because, we're hurtful, hateful people.
Just laying it all out on the line.
And can you sense the sarcasm in my tone of voice, please?
Not at all. No, did you know? Another fun fact: the production designer, Jack Fisk, his girlfriend was Sissy Spacek.
Sissy Spacek, yes.
Yeah, who would go on to be Carrie. 1976.
Carrie. That's right. That's what I was wondering. I was thinking is like this is before Carrie, so this is this is around the time of De Palma's like very first couple of films.
I believe so.
When was Scarface come out? Scarface didn't come out till
that was later, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like 80s, early 80s. Or was it still 79 or like 78?
Oh, I think it was, Scarface was somewhere in the 70s.
I haven't watched that movie since I was like not a kid, but like a preteen. You know, it was
Scarface was 1983.
Okay, so it was early-ish 80s. Interesting.
So he before Phantom of the Paradise, he made Sisters, Get to Know Your Rabbit. I know these movies. This was his. I mean, I think Carrie was his first big film.
Yeah, because Phantom of the Paradise did not
do very well. No,
it did not hit.
No. Which, I mean, there's the Wedding Party in '69, or I've never heard Jennifer, which is a short. Yeah. This is one of his. Well, you know what the thing is about this movie is it has a huge cult following now. It's like it was
Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of gathered that weird retrospective or retroactive steam. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, because I've discovered this film now thanks to you, basically being like, okay, no, you gotta watch it. You know,
yeah.
If you're a fan of the Opera, if you're a fan of Gothic horror, you know, if you're a fan of these kind of things, you gotta watch this movie. And you're right, and I loved the score too. Like, I mean, it was Paul Williams does have a fantastic voice, and but so does Jessica Harper. I have to write down her name and make sure. I'm like, I got to write down all these actors' names.
Her introduction, as they're introducing Jessica Harper.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, man. And I feel like I've seen her in other things, but I don't know what exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she reminds me of, what's her name when played in Superman?
Oh my God, Margot Kidder.
Yeah, Margot Kidder, but it's not her.
No,
obviously, but
she reminds me more of like a kind of sexier, not sexier, but like a little sexier Sally Field.
Little bit, yeah. She got that cuteness to her.
That's what I mean.
She was in Suspiria in 1977.
Oh shit. That's classic.
The only thing I could know her from. Other than that, she's done TV, tons of TV. So you probably know her from like Hawaii Five-0 and Tales from the Dark Side. Tons of TV.
Probably.
McBeal. You ever watch Hawaii Five-0?
I've caught a couple episodes here and there.
Late night television on TV Land.
I've sat beside a couple. Yeah, exactly. I've sat beside a couple old people and indulged in whatever they tossed on, but couldn't hear, so they turned up the volume really loud. I had to use the chair for comedic effect there. No, I was really intrigued too by this whole like. So it was like Dorian Gray, but at the same time, there was like this idea of this like Horcrux tape, that this the magic tape that if you destroy it, then you can, or that like that's how you can defeat him.
Yeah, the contracts are null and void at that point.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But once again, it all just kind of reflects. It's like a critique on capitalism, the music industry, and how it has become capitalized, but also become a system of patriarchal dominance and exploitation of women. And that's a really like deep like slice to make at the time, really, if you think about it, that I feel like kind of went largely unnoticed just because of how silly all the like comedic stuff in the film kind of is, and like how it's almost like it's padded for audiences at the time, you know what I mean? So that it's still entertaining and still funny, but oh shit, this is actually kind of like saying we're all kind of terrible people.
Pretty much.
We're buying into the system of
it's
chaos.
it's whoring yourself out
to
become famous. And I mean, who doesn't want to become famous? I mean, in all actuality, I mean,
the classic Faustus tale.
I would be a hypocrite to say that I wouldn't want to have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I mean, that's a badge of honor right there. I would gladly wear. but would I sell my soul to the devil to get there? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if I could sign that contract. I don't know if I could. Even some people like artists like Slipknot say that's basically what they did.
Right.
Corey Taylor, he came out and widely said it's like when he joined Slipknot, which Slipknot as a metal band was a band that was put together. They weren't originally a tight knit band. They were the production company that put them together. Like a fucking boy band for metal.
Right.
And he basically came out and said, yeah, I sold my soul to the devil to get where I am. But, as an artist, Corey Taylor has come out with some fantastic pieces of music over the last, couple decades. So,
well, yeah. No, okay.
on its own.
I was just, I had to look up, and I feel like a dummy for having to look him up, but Robert Johnson was the classic folk legend. He's the black artist who what was it? It was in the 1930s.
Yeah.
He said he made a deal with a crossroads demon, and he came back because he played at a club, and they kicked him out because he was so bad. And he came back the same night and picked up a guitar and played away.
Played the blues.
Exactly.
You deal with the devil and played the blues. That's an old urban legend.
That's Robert Johnson. That's the man.
Johnson, yeah.
He's the one who started that. And
well, let's
that's
look
like
at Elvis Presley. Let's talk about when we were talking about the love of rock and roll and how this plays like kind of like a love letter to rock and roll music and counterculture.
Love letters from
how many songs did Elvis Presley rip off of black artists?
That's true though. That's true, right?
Led Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
There is a long history of cultural appropriation through blues music. I mean, blues
100%
was the original rock.
Yep.
And roll. And then it was commercialized by the
white man. By the white man, as they say. It was in 1932. Sorry.
where does that line fit into this movie? Does that line still fit into this movie somehow?
And you know what? I think maybe that ties into why neither Winslow nor Swan are good people. Ultimately, in the end, like you kind of can't really root for either of them. You're like, okay, you're rooting for Winslow to succeed in saving Phoenix, but you're like, there's no future for you two. So other than that, like you gotta die, man.
That's why he had to die. The self-sacrifice was his only way to redeem himself.
The only thing that made me
I don't know if he even really thought about his own self-sacrifice. What was the whole thing? It's like he finally, he got Swan, killed Swan, and that whole like trying to grab that piece of life, crawling towards Phoenix and trying to do like what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to get her to help you? Are you crawling to her for acceptance? What?
I wonder if that's kind of what it was like, or more, not even acceptance, but just recognition. Finally recognition, because earlier she's like, no, I don't know you, like, get away from me, you freak, basically. Which, I mean, fair, because he comes on so strong. He's just like, no, it's me, come on, we gotta do this, you have to stop him, you can't join him.
Yes.
And she's like, oh my god, what the hell?
You don't sing my cantata.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, okay. But I think in the end, that's the reason that I don't necessarily think he intentionally falls with his face like that just so she can recognize him. But I think his point of reaching out to her was to be like, no, look at me. It's me. Yes. It's Winslow. Yes. It's not some creepy rando. I was actually trying to help you. And I kind of really liked you. Because that's the thing. It's like, this isn't love. Because you haven't known her really. You know what I mean? You love her voice. You love her voice. You're in love with her voice. Yes. You're right. You're right. But you don't know her, man. You don't know her like that.
You don't know her at all.
She don't know you like that, really.
No.
But I did get emotional at the moment when she recognized him a little bit. That did get me a little bit. I was like, okay, all right, Brian, you got me. You got me, Brian. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the film in the end. But I think it's like one of those big hidden criticism kind of films. You know what I mean? It's almost biting in a way, and I think having your two leads be white males, aggressive white males in their own way, because Swan is more of like the slime ball. You know, he's like your typical kind of cliche businessman who's like, yeah, I'm in it for the sex and for the money.
Yeah. And the power.
And the power and eternal life, which I'm like, oh my God. Can you imagine this man living forever?
I don't know, when he was in his bathroom when he was all young and shit like that. He's so naive there.
Yeah, I know.
I just don't want to die. I just don't want the thought of getting old. Just
like, wow.
I can't bear it. And then the devil comes, like, shit. There's a little bit of moment of sympathy there. It's just like, yeah, I can see you as an artist. Like, I don't know nobody really wants to die and grow old, but are you willing to sell your soul for that?
Or, and then the other thing too is, so that happens, and then the movie is kind of ultimately about what happens when you have that power and it's threatened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The lengths someone will go to protect their power, no matter how they got it.
Yeah.
Even if justice is ultimately what they deserve. That's kind of what my, the bits and pieces of my novel come to mind in there too, because I'm like, in my novel, Jesus doesn't want to die. He's like, no, this ain't happening. I am eternal. I'm God.
I always figured Jesus didn't want to die.
When
he was in that cell, waiting to be crucified. Like, I think Gibson kind of alluded to that, and I think there was a few different films that alluded to the devil coming to him in his cell and making him that deal, and he's like, well, no, I got to do it ultimately. And I can understand that if you were like, we're talking about whatever you believe in, whatever your religion is.
And I'm talking about a fictional version of the figure, I should say.
But as a narrative, as a story, as the story we're being told, I mean, there is that question. There's that question of what you would do. What would you make the deal with the devil? What would you get in return? Which is always ends up being, not worth it, right?
Right. And that's all. Yeah, it's like it's the classic tale of a man who made a deal he ultimately regretted. In the end, people got hurt, but the girl lived. Happy ending for everyone else.
Happy ending for Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know what really was fantastic about that ending? Another part that you really noticed is the fact that like everybody's just partying throughout this chaos,
and that's why the question popped into my head. That's what made it, and that's why
is it all part of the show, right?
Is it? And that is like, yeah, exactly.
Do you believe anymore? Do you believe in this showmanship? Is anything real?
And there are plenty of other films that have explored that idea since then, that idea of like simulated violence versus real violence, and how much people are willing to accept, or how easy it is almost for people to accept seeing something and their brains being able to just logic it away, like, oh no, that's all part of the performance, or oh, it's just special effects, or oh, it's it's fine. Because, it's in a controlled environment. It's all part of the corporation. It's all paid for. I
love that. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. That's fantastic. It's all paid for. That's a perfect sum of what this represents between that idea of our simulated environment. I mean, how influenced are we by the amount of violence that we're subjected to? Are we desensitized to it anymore? And that's a question that was, back in 1974. That's a question we're still asking today when it comes to like video games and stuff like that. And
Fortnite.
They have proven that there is no correlation.
Exactly.
However, I mean, when I look at horror movies, there is a correlation between the amount of desensitization that I have to when fear is introduced as a stimulus.
Speaking of which, can we do Hellraiser next?
Oh God, yes.
Because also, you know what? That's in context, because it's also about a man who makes a deal that he ends up regretting. Ultimately,
you want to revisit Hellraiser? I
want to revisit Hellraiser. Wait, okay, yeah, we've already done it officially, right? Once.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we should do. Let's rewatch 1, but also watch 2.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah.
If you've already rewatched 1, you can just skip right to 2. But I want to talk about Hellraiser. Let's do 2.
I've
officially.
rewatched them both this week. I rewatched 2 this week too. So
okay,
it was on Shudder.
I know. As soon as you sent me that, I was like, oh fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm ready to jump back in, and I'd love to do the sequel because I haven't seen it in like at least a year.
I can't find 3 and 4 though.
That's kind of sad because Bloodlines I'd like to do actually.
3, I'm curious. Like to do 3. I'm curious. It's been a long time since I've seen 3.
And I'm interested because it does have connective tissue. It does carry on from where you leave Pinhead off in the second one. I do remember that.
Yes, and Christy is there.
Yes. Oh, really? Is she in the third one?
He's in the third one.
Oh my god, man! Yeah. See, this is why. See, I gotta rewatch exactly.
So it is continuity.
Mm-hmm.
There is continuity. I'm pretty sure Christy is there. Oh my god, it's been such a long time. I'm pretty sure she was just more of a supporting character, and it was like they were reintroducing a new character,
right?
And then in 4, they just went through like 3 different narratives, short narratives, right?
Right.
Which I loved 4. It was fantastic. Short narratives, kind of, and the fact that they went into like the merchant
dynasty,
just
generational dynasty. Yeah, it was like whoa. Yeah. I thought that was such an ambitious film.
It brings more context to the box.
Exactly. And not in a way that I felt because it still didn't explain too much.
No.
Right? Because Le Marchand makes the box, and then the rich dude basically makes it demonic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but you don't ever find out how that really works. You know what I mean? It just happens.
Supernatural.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love learning more about that.
See, that's why I'm telling you, go pick up the Hellbound Heart, read it, and then we'll do the podcast.
Yes, that's true.
We'll do
I have time.
Yes,
between now and then. And
it's a short book, and it's an easy book to get through.
That's what I mean. The first time I read it, I literally breezed through it in like a day, maybe 2, because I took a break. But I still oh my god. It's infinitely readable, I think, as a horror fan too, especially
it's engrossing. It's fast, and it's just,
and he just uses all your senses while you're reading this book. Like, it's so visually stimulating, despite being a book.
That's why I say it's like reading it for the first time again. It's almost you feel every single thing, like every he described, right? Like I just when he got past the Frank scene. When Frank's looking at all, like he's wondering about all the horrors and stuff, and now he's looking at the Cenobites around him. He's like, I get over my head.
Yeah, exactly. The fucking engineer comes out and he's like, oh. All of his senses are suddenly exploded into a million little. The thing is, it sounds like the most, like the peak of ecstasy. You know what I mean? Like that split second of like, it sounds like it would be like the ultimate,
It's the human experience on Overlord. Overlord.
I knew what you meant, but yeah.
The Overlord is the engineer.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, with her tongues on her thighs.
Oh, and then she gets up and is like, okay, now we're about to start. And I'm just like,
I wish she had been in the movie, but I understand. I get it, Clive. You were like, we can't push it too far yet.
Yeah, it's the 80s. There's a few things that would never make it past the MPA.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And you know what? I don't mind that Pinhead became like the mascot, I guess, or the poster boy of the series.
Oh fuck no, Pinhead was great.
Yeah, well, and Doug Bradley is just brilliant in the role. I mean, it'll be interesting to see when David Bruckner remakes it, how how they go about it. You know, I hope they don't get somebody who does a Doug Bradley impression, but on the other hand, I don't want them to like. I don't want them to make Pinhead like a, I don't know, high pitched squealy boy. Hello, welcome to your doom. No, I don't know. I'm just,
whatever that was
fall apart
in the dimension fucking extreme line, whatever they did to Pinhead. Yeah, don't do that.
I haven't watched the newest stuff. I have not watched the newest stuff, to be honest. I gotta get that out of the way. But
not interested.
You know,
I haven't been interested in Hellraiser since like the early 2000s because it just went screwball.
Right off the rails, straight off the rails. Which, I think the time is ripe.
I think this book has a lot to say about the culture we live in today.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, this is a good time for Hellraiser to come back. Mm-hmm. I think it's also time for I already just said that, for a Phantom of the Opera reboot, so that you can also do a reboot. So you can do a sequel to it and adapt Love Never Dies with the new cast. But rewrite Love Never Dies with a fan script written by Austin Campbell. And fan score written by Austin.
I think it's time. Let's do it.
And I personally, currently my casting, and I'm gonna probably draw some ire from this from some people in the audience. Who knows? We all have our different picks, okay, people? It's all subjective, okay? You have your picks, I have mine. I'm just gonna toss Chris Pine out there in the ring. I think he'd play a really, really cool Phantom of the Opera.
I haven't heard him sing.
Watch Into the Woods.
He's in there?
Yeah, he plays Prince Charming.
Into the Woods. Yeah.
Okay. And then imagine half of his face, but like just like a membrane covering a skull over a pulsing eyeball on one side.
That to Chris Pine.
That's exactly what I'm going to do to Chris Pine. The other half will be beautiful, but then imagine the reveal and past the point of no return. Can you imagine that? It's just like, holy fuck! Like,
you ugly.
All of a sudden, Ripley from Aliens pops up behind Christine. She's like, "You stay away from her, you son of a bitch." Eric's like, uses magic, gets away. That'd be beautiful.
Well, I love it. That's okay. I'm on board.
Yeah,
I'm definitely on board.
You should be a studio executive. I'm like the guy coming in to pitch at Fox. Just like, listen,
Ripley's in this. It's got everything. And music of the night.
Marketing practically sells the movie without. You don't even have to have a movie.
Rock and roll music.
It's beautiful.
Got everything.
You know, I just think that they're really sleeping on that as a cinematic universe potential. There's potential there.
Yes. Just link everything up. Link all the movies up together. They're all in the same universe. All of them.
Taxi Driver happens at the same time as Joker. You can't change my mind.
No.
In the exact same city.
I haven't seen Joker.
That's okay. That's okay. It's a brilliant film, though.
There is
Joaquin Phoenix.
Time now. Just
no, that's totally fair.
Rent it. So
you have a family to feed and to live and clothe and keep occupied during a crisis.
And usually they are in charge of the TV.
That's also fair. And maybe not everybody wants to watch Joker. That's totally fine. It's not it's really dark. So I mean, you know.
Oh, I want to see it. I just haven't done it yet.
It's so good, man. That's life. That's life. That's a reference to it also, but it's also just true. That's life. So
we'll just put that on our podcast slate because it's definitely a movie I'd like to talk about.
And we want, you know, I wanted to, and we did say we were going to dive into more comic book movies and, you know, stuff like that. Joker would be a good one to toss up on the table. Well, trying to think of, Bloodshot is really popular right now too.
Why?
I don't know. You know what? Valiant Comics has actually a pretty big universe of characters. It turns out.
Well, yeah, I've seen Bat in the Sun do it.
Yeah, But that makes sense.
David Frank's
Okay.
pretty cool.
Oh well,
Yeah.
no, I mean they're fan films, and I thought you meant like Bat in the Sun, as in like they're Batman fan films too. Is the first thing that popped to mind. I'm like, well, obviously, because it's Batman. But yeah, they did do their Valiant stuff. They did their Ninjak versus Valiant universe.
Yeah, those were really cool. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the Bat in the Sun production stuff. Like they do really good work.
Oh God, yeah. I'm excited for whatever this epic Batman film they're doing is gonna be all about, because I don't know. It sounds really ambitious. It sounds really ambitious.
It's really ambitious, and Kevin Porter is really ambitious, and he wants to take that character into new places.
So it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, all right, man.
I'm on board. I've seen what you've done, and I'm definitely on board. So.
Exactly. But one day I hope to make my own Batman fan films, and actually I want to skip right from the fan film to the feature production, and I'm hoping to prove myself worthy with some other films before that. But I'd love to get my hands on a live action Batman. Oh my God.
I want to be old man Bruce Wayne.
We can do that. We'll make it happen, Captain.
I'm too fat to be Batman.
No, we'll get you in a mech suit that squeezes everything in.
Oh, God. Pop out of my brain. Like
you step out. You step out for 10 seconds. You're like, I'm Batman, and all of a sudden your head just like you're like, oh. It's like a scene from Scanners or something. Holy shit!
It's like, fuck. Well, that didn't work.
Basically, like when Winslow goes to try and destroy the records at the beginning of the movie and slips and falls into the record press.
Stay away from there.
Like, yeah, exactly. Get away from there, man.
Sign says danger.
He's carrying dynamite in his just in his shirt. It's like everything is bad. Why did you choose to this was just a bad plan. You had no plan.
Nope.
You just and where did you get the dynamite? Did you get it from the prison before you left? Like, I don't understand.
He's got a guy.
He's got a guy.
On the block.
Yeah.
Or he found it, because the devil's around there. He found it inside the stage, the storage place. So they just keep dynamite laying around everywhere. In this movie.
They're just for some reason. Yeah, it's so true though. There's dynamite. There's ticking time bombs. Which let me say, I love that scene with the Beach Boys, or sort of the Juicy Fruits.
The Juicy Fruits. The Juicy Fruits. They're gonna move you.
They did. They moved me to tears of laughter and horrible tragedy when I thought they died. I don't think they died. Did they die when the bomb exploded?
Supposedly, because they played 3 different bands.
I know it was the same guys, but which I liked. I thought that was cool. I was like, yeah, that would just make sense.
Yeah,
but
because I'm pretty sure they died, because that's what, like Swan's like, I gotta put together a whole new fucking thing now to open up the whole new band to open up the Paradise.
Right.
Like, shit.
So I just
Winslow, you fucked it all up. Jesus Christ.
God, I just think Paul Williams is I can't get over how unattractive I think he is. Despite how he's got women lined up at the door of his mansion willing to audition for him, when really they're not even auditioning for him. They're just getting felt up by Philbin, and it's like, this is just awful.
No.
Like, why would you even want to work for this guy?
Gets the rejects.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Swan,
God, man.
Swan.
Oh,
remember, he records everything, so he picks out everything.
I know that too. It's like, no, this dude's just a creep. Phoenix, what are you doing? Like, I get you want, but then again, it's all about the question of what are you willing to do for fame? What are you willing to do with your intellectual property
story
to get to the top? Yeah. It is an old story. It's a very old
especially
story.
Especially because this is a super huge misogynist film. It's not advocating anything. It's definitely there to show you the type of misogyny is like, how far are you willing to sell your body for fame?
Right.
And your voice. Not just intellectual property is probably the right term for it. It's like, it's there's that rabbit hole is not is something you definitely gotta look into and just say, I I don't know how far I'm willing to go to get to where I want to be, but I know I'm not going to step over my values and morals to get there.
Right. I think that's a fair way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's a fair way to look at it. But on that note,
And I'm also not going to crush other people's dreams to get there either.
there you go. Okay, yeah. No, I think that's a good point. I think that's a good point too. Because I think ultimately that's also a question you can ask of both Winslow and Swan, right? It's like, who are they both willing to screw over to get what they want?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
In this case, it's Phoenix.
Ultimately, in the end.
I mean, like, Swan just wants to assassinate her. Why? Because the views.
Yeah, literally.
It's like, you got this star. It's like, your 15 minutes are over. You opened up for Faustus, and now it's time to die. That's an ending. That's the ending.
I've used you up. Now you're done. I'm done with you. And you're right about how much, just like Christine, how objectified Phoenix is in this film. And I think, that kind of reflects a culture of objectification in the music industry. I'm trying to remember exactly when not Joan Jett, Jesus, Janis Joplin died, but I'm pretty sure it was long before this. But she's a good example. She's a good example.
Oh, fuck yeah. Janis Joplin kind of did it to herself.
I know, but but she also
she's a legend, and she's a legend, and her music is inspired generations of people. But yeah,
she was part of an industry that never discouraged that, because it was part of her image. You know what I mean? It was part of her character.
Nobody told her no, and that's a common theme inside the music industry, is that they will just constantly keep feeding you the drugs. That's why I love Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb. Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb, especially the music video, kind of critiques that idea of just pushing you out there and keep pushing you out there. And so every time I see that and saying, like, every time I see that,
in there, I love it.
Can anybody hear me?
Is there anyone at home?
So the Rocket Man also has that same kind of through line.
That's true.
Elton John's own life and career with battle with sex addiction and drugs.
Well, and I think what that shows, especially Rocket Man, because it's been a long time since I've seen.
It's been a long time.
But anyway, no, Rocket Man, like, it's all about how you have to come to terms with it, like everything yourself. You have to be the one who's willing to change.
Yeah.
And that usually means coming to terms with a past full of whatever your mistakes are or your traumas are, coming to terms with those, which isn't always easy. It's messy, it's ugly, and it hurts. But in the end, you're better for it, because you're more complete. It's almost like, in the end, when he hugs himself as a kid, it's that final embrace and that final completion of that unity of the different sides of
everything
Elton.
He was running away from too.
Reg Dwight is now a very, like, there were years in especially in his early career, after he changed his name, where he would not talk about, like, if you mention the name Reg Dwight, he'd be like, ugh, like he would move on right away.
Yeah.
But now, and reading his autobiography, it was like, you get that sense. Yeah, and he's a wiser, older man now, looking back on things. He's not the coked up, tense, performer that he was for, like, the late 80s and 90s, and, well, even before that. But before that, he was more of the playboy, fun-loving, Elton that we all love watching videos of, dance really awkwardly like a white guy.
Yeah.
But then, through the 80s and 90s, he was touring constantly, and he was getting older. His vocal cords, he had his issues, and his voice changed, and into the 2000s, and I mean, He's lived a life.
You lived a life, and that's the thing about your art and how art reflects your own life experience. And like I posted this on my Facebook earlier today, and just saying, like, we're reflecting on, wow, as a high school dropout, now I'm about to get a master's degree in the humanities. This is a story of my life.
Right.
There's failure and there are successes, and that's all a plot and a climax and a resolution to a narrative. And it's a matter of just reaching out and writing that shit down, getting it out there. Everybody has a story. Everybody has something to say. Everybody's experience is valid. Write it.
Exactly. And in some ways it's like write it or express it however you can. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For someone like Winslow Leach, that's writing music. For someone like Phoenix, that's singing and performing.
Yep. For
someone like Swan, that's manipulating everyone around him and killing everyone he loves. And just for people, for fame. And everybody has different motivations.
Yeah.
But I think we ultimately all strive for some form of expression. And I'm not saying and because there are plenty of people who don't do art, say they don't do art, but maybe they express themselves through sports. Maybe they express themselves through the things that their hobbies, their other hobbies,
their talents, and I
talents.
cringe when I use that, because I don't really believe in talent as an innate thing. I believe that we're not all born with skills and talents. We learn talents and skills. I mean,
we hone our skills and we learn. We learn. That's the bottom line. We're always learning.
Yeah. Another plot hole. When I talk about artistry, and when I talk about art, I mean anything that you put creativity into, and that's almost everything. I mean, woodworkers put creativity into woodworking. Cooks put in creativity into their meals and their dishes. They go off script and
then it is art. To me, I'm a pretty simple guy.
Yep.
I'm like, you know what? You made that. You put effort into it, even if it,
your imagination. You imagined that in your mind,
you manifested
and you brought it to life. You molded it, you sculpted it, and there it is.
It was manifested into reality.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the power of the human mind too. It's not like the universe just forced these elements together to make a dish, for example, if you want to keep the cooking metaphor going. It's not like all the spinach and the chicken just stuffed themselves and worked, you know what I mean? You did that, and you had that, or it's not like that lasagna layered itself. You did that.
That's right. I mean, it's when people start battling, like, if you want to put it into like the metaphor of music, it's like, what is poetry? Well, that's where all our lyricism came from, was poetry. So music is poetry, and you get debates. The people are like, I don't consider lyrics poetry. It's like, well, yeah, they are.
They are, though. The way a song is poetry, a song is art. Okay, the way your room is organized is art. The way your house is organized is art. Okay, the way that I dress today is art. The way you dress today is art. The frickin' sky is art. I think that the okay, not the sidewalk. Maybe it is art. You know what? There's a grid, and that kind of looks like art if you look at it in a certain way.
Okay, we're going. It's a little too far now.
You're like, okay. I was following you, but now we're
going way too far. I'm thinking about music.
I know. I'm just kidding, but but seriously, it is, and I that's an interesting debate that always comes up. That idea of, are song lyrics poetry? And it's like, well, how are they not? That's always my question. I'm like, how are they not? I always want people to explain to me.
Yeah, they can't.
The difference. Yeah, exactly.
I haven't heard one good argument on that anyway.
Like, because even poetry has a certain cadence. You can't say that, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be like, oh, you know, to a beat or a rhythm. It's like, well, yeah, poetry does that too.
Yeah, that's right.
Poetry is songs, and songs are poetry. Yeah, I don't know.
And that's why I consider this movie to be the wackiest, zaniest piece of art out there.
Yeah.
Because it can be, and because it wanted to be.
And it's composed that way. I mean, the fact that Brian De Palma directed and wrote it, Paul Williams scored and wrote all the music, all the original music.
Yeah.
Like, it is. The whole thing on the whole, the film on the whole, the film on the whole is a big piece of art. It's a big piece of art to be savored. We made it, though. We made it through a whole hour. Can you believe that?
I think we could say goodnight. I won't go yell at him. Yeah, so I can say goodbye.
You know, it's totally me. Rachel and I discovered that our internet plan is
terrible.
We're on an internet plan that doesn't exist anymore, Clint. The internet plan is 3 years old, and we don't even have the same router that they provide to customers anymore.
Dude.
So now you understand why it's so bad.
Well, you pay for it. You should be able to upgrade it.
And that's just it.
You should at least get the router.
I looked it all up. We can literally have the best internet for the same price. Yeah. It's just we haven't upgraded. So that's what we got to do. Basically. But in the meantime, while we still got a smooth connection, you can find me. You can find me at Afrotastic27 on Instagram and most other social media platforms like Twitter. That's it. Yes. And also,
it'll all be up here.
Yeah, it'll be
up here. You
can
find me, Midnight Dreamscapes, but you know, you can also find us somewhere cards that say subscribe and like and all that other stuff. And then somewhere around this direction, there's going to be other videos popping up. And
there's actually a red button right here below.
This button blows up the world.
Johnson for you. Yeah, this button. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Rocket. But on that note, this has been High on Hollywood with your host, Sidney Poitier. In all seriousness, this has been Austin Campbell, your co-host. And
I'm Clint Fleury.
Oh, God, my finger's inside of your screen. Oh, yeah. Oh. That was weird. I felt things I've never felt before. Thank you.
You glitched out.
That's not being cut out. So, you know, eventually I'm going to start putting out more content. That's more for you people to know. But I was kind of in a, you know, reevaluation, getting some fresh air, living life. And
do it.
Yeah. We're going to get back on the horse. And we are also changing our What You Watchins to Wednesdays because that just makes more sense. He's frozen, and I probably glitched out pretty hard to him. I'm still glitching out to him. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're good. I'm not going to edit that out.
I'm here.
Yeah, that's what I always say. And then all of a sudden it's like, and
we are all robots.
It's like The Sims, man. Or actually, no. Actually, it's more like me trying to play Fallout 76 the other night and wanted to throw my controller through my goddamn TV. Thanks, Bethesda. Love you guys. Oh my god.
Who plays Fallout 76?
They have NPCs now. I wanted to try.
It's a terrible game.
If you have a good internet connection, it's fine. Oh my god. Oh no.
Stop! Press the stop button!
Stop. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Goodbye.